Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring a highly restricted, hidden world that, honestly, you interact with every single day without even realizing it. So, let's just dive right in, because the reality of how our money is secured against counterfeiting is this absolutely fascinating tale of two completely distinct fortresses. One is a tangible, physical fortress that you can literally hold in the palm of your hand, and the other? Well, it's a completely invisible digital barrier built quietly into the software right there on your computer.
To really wrap our heads around this dual reality, let's imagine a scenario. What actually happens if you try to open a high-resolution image of money in Adobe Photoshop? Maybe you're a designer putting together a brochure for a local bank, or, hey, maybe you're just curious. You download a nice, crisp image of a banknote, drag it into Photoshop, and you totally expect it to open up just like any normal picture. But the software doesn't behave normally. Instead of an image, you stumble headfirst into this bizarre digital mystery.
Access denied. The software actively refuses to open the file. And no, it's not a glitch, it's not a corrupted download, and it's definitely not a bug. Adobe Photoshop is acting as a strict digital bouncer right on your screen. It's specifically trained to recognize that you are trying to look at a high-res image of currency, and it literally throws up its hands and says, nope, you are not allowed to view or edit this. But why? How does an everyday photo editing app even know what money looks like? And more importantly, who is giving it the authority to lock you out?
Well, that brings us to the shadowy but very real global organization pulling the strings here. The Central Bank Counterfeit Deterrence Group. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller, right? But this organization is the actual driving force behind this worldwide digital restriction. They're the ones who have forced major software companies to bake specialized, hidden code directly into their consumer products. It is just a massive reach of financial security directly into the creative tools sitting on your desk right now.
And honestly, this brings up the quirky side of this whole massive operation. Do you know what the actual technical terminology used to describe this global software intervention is? It's simply a deterrence thing. Seriously, it's almost comical. You have this worldwide coalition of central banks forcing the biggest tech companies on Earth to alter the fundamental code of their software, effectively restricting millions of users, and the label they attach to this invisible digital shield is just a vague, casual deterrence thing. It's kind of funny. A very lighthearted label for a totally serious digital barricade.
All right, moving on to our next section, the physical fortress, holding the Swiss franc.
Now, this digital deterrence thing is really only half the story, because even if you can't digitally manipulate the image of a currency on your laptop, the physical object itself still needs to be basically impenetrable in the real world. And when it comes to tangible defenses, the Swiss franc is universally considered the most security feature-laden banknote in the entire world. This is the absolute gold standard for real-world currency protection. When a country decides to make a piece of paper essentially impossible to copy, they look straight at the Swiss franc. It's not just money, it is a masterclass in anti-counterfeiting engineering.
To truly grasp the scale of this physical fortress, we just have to look at the numbers. 21. That is the staggering number of distinct security measures engineered into a single piece of Swiss currency. I mean, think about that for a second. We aren't just talking about your standard watermark and a shiny strip of foil here. 21 different, incredibly specific defenses have to be perfectly replicated by anyone hoping to pass a fake bill.
So, what do those 21 features actually look like in practice? Well, take these two incredible examples. You've got micro-perforations, which are tiny, hyper-precise holes engineered directly into the material of the bill itself, and images that completely disappear under infrared light. This is literal spy-level tech, all meticulously designed to thwart counterfeiters before they even get a chance to sit down at a computer. You definitely can't just print disappearing infrared ink with a standard home printer. These physical attributes demand industrial-level precision, making the physical bill an absolute nightmare to try and replicate.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. We are looking at a tightly controlled dual reality of modern banknote security. On the digital side, we have an invisible global system, Photoshop's forced deterrence thing, that actively blocks high-resolution image files from even being opened. And then on the physical side, we have these extreme, tangible fortifications, like the Swiss franc's 21 physical measures, complete with disappearing infrared ink. Our modern financial system doesn't just rely on one method. It relies on a tightly controlled dual fortress approach. The physical measures prevent the printing, and the digital measures prevent the digital prep work. They work perfectly in tandem to protect the integrity of the money we all rely on.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If protecting currency requires a shadowy central bank group to force digital roadblocks into consumer software and requires 21 layers of infrared ink and micro-perforations on a physical note, well, what other invisible rules are governing the tools we use every day. If our everyday photo editors are secretly acting as financial bouncers without us even knowing it, what other boundaries are quietly built into the software and physical objects we interact with all the time? It definitely makes you look at your laptop and your wallet in a completely different light. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope you found this breakdown as fascinating as I did. Keep actively learning, keep asking questions, and I'll